Hey everyone, this is Will. So this video is going to be a full out influencer marketing course. This is something that a lot of people charge a lot of money for, and I'm going to give out all of this information for free. So definitely make sure to watch the whole video. I will explain how exactly do you find influencers, all of the different tools you can use, the different type of campaigns that you can run, how do you track your conversions, how you can email hundreds of influencers using automation so you don't need to do all of the work manually. I will show you my exact email templates and explain why I do the things the way I do them. I will show you how much you need to pay influencers, how you calculate your return on investment, and a lot of different hacks and tips and all of that. So definitely there's going to be a lot of value. Once you watch this video, I promise you are going to know everything there is about influencer marketing. I also do have some useful freebies on my website, so check out all of the links down below in the description. And I also give out my Instagram course to one person every single week, so just leave a comment and press thumbs up on this video to enter the competition. Now let's jump straight into the video. Alright, so really quick, I just want to explain the importance of influencer marketing, because a lot of people don't really think that you can perhaps make that much money using influencers. But if we actually look at the numbers, first of all, the first statistic, $1 spent on influencer marketing on average has $5.78 in return. So this already tells you that if you're doing it right, obviously, you can make a lot of money. Another interesting statistic I found is if you're using bloggers as your influencers, their content has 11 times better return on investment compared to banner ads. So again, this just shows you how much potential there is. And also, aside just from the monetary gains, you also get user-generated content that you can reuse on your ads, on your websites, all of that. You also create more brand authority because you have all of these influencers recommending your product. So there are a lot of additional benefits. And just to give you a couple quick examples, if you haven't heard, Gymshark has recently released that they are now worth over $1 billion. I think 1.4 billion or something like that. And their company was and still is actually mostly built on influencers. They really started out just with influencers. That was the main foundation. And now they are obviously, they're doing everything right now, but still a big part of Gymshark is still what they call brand ambassadors. Another example is Movement. So if you have an Instagram account, I'm pretty sure that you have seen some influencers promoting Movement watches, or now they have sunglasses as well, and I think they already have some other accessories and whatnot. So again, this company was pretty much only using influencers. Obviously now they're running some ads and doing other things as well, but they managed to build 100 million plus company just mostly by using influencers. And the last example is Snow, and Snow is a little bit more recent example, and again, they are doing Facebook ads and all of that, but mainly they are focusing on influencers, and they again have built a company that is 100 million plus just mainly by using influencers. So hopefully this gives you a picture that you can actually build insanely big business just by using influencer marketing. Alright, so the first thing that you really need to understand is what is a good influencer, because I think this is one of the parts why a lot of people don't really see success, because they just don't really care who they're working with. They just look at the numbers and they start working with an influencer and they don't really get good return on investment. So when it comes to followers don't really mean anything. Honestly, I would say it's a vanity metric. It doesn't really matter if you have 1 million followers, because first of all, there are so many fake followers, or even if they are not fake followers, they might not be engaging followers. They might be followers that follow that account many years ago and they don't really care about it. So never really look at the amount of followers. What you really need to look at is the engagement rate. This is the metric that you need to care about, and this is the metric that is going to tell you how much money you can make out of influencer and how much you should be paying influencer. So basically how many likes, how many comments influencer has, and all that kind of stuff. Also, do keep in mind that it's not only followers that can be bought on social media platforms, but all likes can be bought as well. So really, a little tip, what you want to do is when you look at an account, you want to see what's the ratio between likes and comments. If let's say a post is getting 1,000 likes but it's only getting 2 comments, that looks a little bit fishy. So the way you can figure out whether an influencer is good in terms of what I just mentioned is ask for their statistics, and then in statistics you can see basically where their followers are coming from, what's the engagement, and all of that kind of stuff. So for example, if you see that a lot of their engagement and a lot of their followers are coming perhaps from India or something like that, where they have these engagement farms, then probably they are just all bots and they're not followers that are going to purchase your products or services. And lastly, also look at the growth rate. This is something that can also indicate whether an account is legit or not. So if you see the account didn't have any followers and all of a sudden it just jumped in the following, then probably those are all bot and fake followers. On the other hand, if you have a steady growth, that is a good indication that this is probably somewhat legit account. You obviously still need to look at all of the other stuff, but another thing you can do is when you look at the growth, if you do see that the influencer is growing really fast, because some influencers, they just take off and it's not going to be a steady growth, it's going to be more like a hockey stick, to take startup analogy. So if you see that, that means also that it can be a really good opportunity for you to work with that influencer, because if they are at this peak state where they are about to explode and you manage to get a post of them, so let's say you might get a post from them for $100 this month and then they absolutely explode, and the next month you might need to pay $1,000. So if you manage to jump in before they explode, you can actually make much higher return on investment. A few other things that you need to take into consideration when choosing an influencer is their posting frequency. So this is how many times they actually post per day or per week. So for example, if we go on Social Blade and we look at the Shade Room, you will see that when it comes to their posting, yes, they do have a lot of followers and all of that, but look at these numbers. These are absolutely insane. 1,500 posts, basically 1,500 posts in the past couple of months. So that means they're posting 50 different posts per day. So really, if your post is being posted in the morning, no way someone is going to see it if they check the Shade Room in the evening. On the other hand, if you look at something like my Instagram account, you will see that I actually haven't posted in 2 years. So if you have, I have posted a post on Sofitel. So as you can see, this post was 2017, 3 years ago. So actually, whenever someone comes on my profile, on my Instagram, personal Instagram profile, they actually see Sofitel. So Sofitel is still actually getting some traction from my Instagram account for 3 years. Obviously, this is an extreme example because I haven't been really using my personal account. I will start using my personal Instagram account again though, so go follow me on Instagram. I do have a couple hundred pictures of all my different travels, so if you're interested of cool places to go, follow me on Instagram. Another thing to keep in mind is to actually have a look of how much sponsored content there is on an account. So if someone is creating a lot of sponsored posts compared to the ratio of non-sponsored content, then that might not be a good indication that it's a good account to work with, because their audience might be a little bit tired of all of the content, all the sponsored content being pushed to them, and they might not really react that well, or they might not really even have that much money to purchase anymore because they already made a lot of purchases from other sponsored posts. Another thing to keep in mind, and this seems pretty basic, but you would be surprised how many people don't take this into consideration. But when you choose an influencer, really one of the main factors, if not the main one, is you need to find someone who is relevant to your brand. The more relevant that influencer is to your brand, the higher amount of sales you are going to have. So definitely don't just look at, oh, does this influencer have high engagement? Do they have good quality posting, all of that? Really, one of the most important metrics is how relevant it is to your brand. And obviously you do want to pay attention to the quality of the posts. Some influencers do really well with really rubbish quality posts, and you're still going to get a lot of sales, so it can definitely work with non so great quality posts. But if you are doing these sponsorships to get some user generated content, then you actually want to work with some influencers that are producing good quality content, so you can reuse that content later for your other marketing means. And lastly, one thing that not that many people consider, again, a lot of people just see influencer marketing as one-off thing. You just do one deal and that is it. But try to find some influencers with whom you can actually build a relationship and they can keep on promoting your products. And if you find someone who really loves your products, then they might even start promoting your products without you even needing to pay anything. So again, if you go back to Gymshark example, they have what they call their brand ambassadors, and I would say that those brand ambassadors are actually the people who have built the brand. I know definitely me and my friends have found out about Gymshark because of the YouTubers and Instagrammers that we follow in the fitness niche. Alright, so now let's get into how exactly do we find Instagram influencers. So the first thing what you need to do is you actually need to create an Excel form where we are going to put in all of the information for our marketing campaign. So this is the form that I like to use. I will try to maybe leave a link down below so you can copy this form or just put in what you see on the screen. So the first section, we have a name. So we are going to use this later to make it more personal. Then we want to have Instagram handle. So basically this is the username on Instagram. Then we have their account link. We have the number of followers that they have. Then we have their engagement. That is very important. And I'll show you some tools how exactly you can find their engagement so you don't need to do all the math yourself. Then you have a section for their email address. You can also put in a section for their phone number if you want to approach them through phone. Then the other important section is to have story views, but this is something that actually is going to come in a little bit later once we actually contact the influencers and ask them for their statistics. So if you are going to try and get some sponsored stories, then you want to know exactly how many views on average they're getting from their stories. Then the price, again, all of this is going to come in later, but then you want to know what is the price. Then after that, after you actually have done your campaign, you can also put in how many sales that specific influencer actually generated, what was your return on investment, which I will explain later, and what kind of content they created. So this also can be if perhaps you are asking the influencer to create a specific content, then you can leave a note here of what that content should include. And then we have the post date. So basically if you ask an influencer to post those sponsor posts on a specific date, then you will put in the date here. So basically these sections at the end are all just used so you get a little bit better picture of how it was working with this influencer, and perhaps later on if you want to come back to some influencers, you can choose which influencer had the best return on investment and you can work with them. So the most basic way that you can do this is simply by going on Instagram and manually finding different influencers. So in this case, let's say we are using fitness niche. So I found this page that's called Fitness Girls Motivation. So actually let me show you step by step how you can do this. So actually, if you decide to maybe hire a virtual assistant, I will leave some links where you can hire virtual assistant for a very cheap price, and they can do all of this for you manually, and you don't need to do this yourself because it's not that complicated. So the process here is, let's say we found this account. So first of all, we want to copy their username, and then we have this website called Influencer Marketing Hub, and they actually have engagement calculator. So what we can do is we just put in this name here and we press enter, and now you will see that they calculate the engagement rate, which is 0.72%, which is not that great. They show you estimate cost per post, which can be useful as well. Doesn't necessarily mean that these are actually good figures, but perhaps it can give you a little bit of an idea. So what we want to do then, we go back in here, we put in the handle, then we want to copy the engagement rate. We copy that, we put that into the engagement section, and then sometimes you will see, so for example here, okay, it's a page, but in some cases you will see, let's actually try to see, they probably are tagging some of the users. Right, so let's open this person. She's probably an influencer. So what we can do is, if we would be working with this person, you can probably see her name. So I would say Ida is probably her name. So you would copy that name and you would put that name in this section right here. And again, sometimes you might not have any name because it might be just a business page. So as we saw with this page right here, it's basically just a curation page, so they don't actually have any name. So then we will just leave that section blank. So then we want to also copy the link of this account and see what is the amount of subscribers they have. So we are going to put in the link and put in 4.8 million followers, and then we want to put in their email address. And the way you can do this on desktop, because on desktop Instagram doesn't allow you to see email address, so you can either go to your phone and you can see email address from there. Sometimes some accounts are going to have their email address in their description, but if they don't have that, there's a little hack. So what you can do is, if you press the right button, you will see there is the section view page sources. So if we open that, now it's going to open the code of that page that you were on. So if we press Command F or Control F and we type in email, you will see now within the code it shows you business email, and this actually shows you the email address. So then we can just copy this, we can close this tab and go back and put in the email address, and we are done with that influencer. And then let's try to do the same. So this is also good. Sometimes you might find the names of the influencers. If you're not too sure what the person's name is, if you go and find their email address, most of the email addresses, people actually have their first name. So again, this is actually the same as their Instagram handle, but then I'm just assuming that Ida is probably the person's name. So again, we just copied this and put this in. So I think you get the principle of how you find all of this basic information. And then from there, if you're doing all of this manually, what you can do, you can just press this little blue icon right here, and it opens up all of the related accounts. In this case, because it's such a big account, as you can see, it actually just opens Justin Bieber, Kylie Jenner, and so on. So it's not really related to our niche. But again, this is actually curation accounts. So curation accounts are another little hack because they actually will have all of the different influencers. So in this case, as you can see, they actually tag you, as you can see, Muscle Sisters. Then in the next post, you have Suzanak. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce that. This is the account that we found. So curation pages are actually a really good source of all of the different accounts. If that applies to your specific niche, it's not always going to. So let's see if we are on this influencer account and we do the same thing. We press the blue icon and we press see all, and now you have this whole list of all of these different influencers within that niche, related to that niche. And usually the deeper you go, the more you go to the end of the list, and from here then we will do the same thing again, and we're going to go to all of the related people and so on and so on. And eventually you're going to start finding people with lower and lower follower count, and then you're going to go from the really big influencers to the micro influencers. Another simple thing that you can do is simply in the search you type in whatever the word is. So let's say in this case we are typing in fitness, and then you will see, of course, a lot of different related fitness accounts. And you also can do this by searching for different hashtags. So once again, let's say we type in fitness, and you might not want to go to the first one. Let's say we will go to fitness lifestyle, and if you press here, usually there are going, as you can see, there are 12 million posts. So usually the influencers are going to be on the top post, but these are probably going to be pretty big influencers as well. And going through these other posts doesn't really make much sense most of the time. They're going to have very few followers. So really, we want to look at some of these people and then see from here, okay, so this person has only 2,000 followers. So this is basically a really sort of micro influencer. Another way you can find influencers is to go on this website called Search My Bio. So what this does is basically it looks for different keywords in the bio. So again, let's say we put in fitness and we press search. So now it's going to find all of these accounts that have fitness within their bio. It's not necessarily the best way to find, and actually let's sort this by actually we can put in, let's say we want from 5,000 to, let's say we want some micro influencers. So we want from 5,000 to 10,000. Let's search. So now, as you can see, we are finding, so for example, something like this, probably a good micro influencer here again. And the cool thing here is as well that they show you, as you can see, how many posts that person posts per week on average. So this is something that I mentioned that you need to pay attention to. And it also shows you the engagement. So you don't even need to go to this other tool that I showed before. You can see all of that right here and then. And the only downside is that if it's a very, let's say if it's something like business, then a lot of people are going to have that keyword, even if they're in different niche and they're not in business niche. So do make sure that this actually makes sense. But this is a good way to find some influencers, and it's really nice that you can actually sort by the amount of followers. There is also another tool that is called influence.co, and basically they do sort of the same thing as well. So if you type in fitness, as you can see, it opens up all of the related niches, and it also even shows you that you have 43,600 different accounts within this category. And again, we can choose even the location, and we can choose how many followers they have. They also have this advanced section, which is really cool if you want to narrow down even further on your influencers. So as you can see, they give you, you can basically put in different engagement rates. You can put in, if you want, Facebook likes, Twitter followers, Pinterest reach, so all of the different channels, not just Instagram. You can also put in their age, gender, and so on and so forth. And another really cool thing I like about this is that you can go on the section username, and then if we put in the username, they will show you this account, and they will show you people who have featured this account. So again, this just gives you a little bit more sort of different influencers that you might want to choose from. So a little hack, what you can do with this is you can actually put in your competitors, the competitor Instagram account, and then you can see what influencers tagged their account, and then you can contact those influencers and approach them as well. So as you can see here, this account actually has quite a lot of tags, 2,500 tags. So you could potentially connect all of these people if they are, I think they want to be future because this was a curation account, but most likely if they're trying to get future, they are trying to basically grow followers, so they're probably pretty likely to also be open for collaborations. And the really cool thing I like here as well is that it shows you the rates for influencers like Fitness Girl Motivation, so it shows you on average what you can kind of expect. But again, these numbers are really sort of all over the place, so I will show you later how we're going to calculate how much we're paying for Instagram influencers, but still, it's a little bit of an indication of what you can kind of expect. And also it shows you what are the usual engagement rates for accounts like this. So again, gives you a little bit better understanding of what to expect. Usually I would say you want to find accounts that have at least 2% engagement rate, but it really depends, because if you look at these curation accounts, a lot of times they are going to have very, very low engagement. There are also some other tools that actually cost money where you can sign up and then basically they just give you a little bit more settings on what exactly you can do, and sometimes you can connect with influencers through those platforms. So just to mention a couple, there is a platform called Cloud HQ, and another popular one is called Scope, and they actually even do have a free plan where you can use it only for 15 minutes per day though, so it's not that much, and it's also limited in terms of what you can do. But I'm not going to go into tutorials on these different tools because I know that a lot of people use different tools, so it doesn't really make sense to just cover one tool and that's it. Okay, so when you're doing your research, there are a few things that you might want to keep in mind if you are outsourcing this, which I highly suggest. Again, I will leave some links where you can find some freelancers to do this for you for a very cheap price. This is something that I like to give to my virtual assistant just to make sure that she does everything all right. First of all, you need to determine what kind of language the influencer has to speak, because sometimes you might only want to target people that, let's say, speak English or perhaps speak Spanish or Portuguese, whatever it is. Another thing, what you want to do is you want to perhaps have some sort of minimum engagement. So whether you have, let's say, 2% engagement rate as a minimum, or perhaps you want to have a minimum amount of likes per post. So what you do is you set that number. So let's say if you're working with micro influencers, you want them to have at least 200 likes per post. So when you are doing this or your virtual assistant is doing this, they just have to look at the last 6 or 9 posts, and if all of those posts more or less have 200 likes, then you can put that person on the list. If they have less, then you don't put that person on the list. Another thing to keep in mind is that you need to specify exactly the content type and the niche. So depending on your product or service, you might be approaching different niches. So for example, you might have a niche where you have influencers that have something to do with fitness, but also you might want to approach influencers that have something to do with the health, and you might want to be approaching these influencers differently. So you might want to create 2 different lists for these 2 groups. Also, when it comes to content type, so for example, maybe you only want to work with personal accounts because they have a lot higher conversion rate, or perhaps you only want to work with curation pages because the specific content piece that you have, your offer, your ad, is going to work really well on those curation pages and not so well on personal Instagram accounts because maybe it looks a little bit too much like an actual advertisement. So when it comes to the actual types of influencers, I would say there are 3 main categories. So first of all, you have your celebrities, which I would say aren't necessarily the best return on investment, but it can be a good endorsement. And usually if you want to approach celebrity, it's going to be a little bit harder. Sometimes you need to actually contact their agents or go through an agency to actually contact them. If you just DM them or send them an email, they're not very likely to actually respond to that. Another category is authority figures. So basically influencers who have a lot of authority in a specific niche. So as we saw some of these fitness accounts, I would say that they are authority figures within the fitness community. There might be some accounts also that are really big accounts, but they are more sort of general lifestyle kind of influencers. So those are a little bit different from the authority figures, I would say, because they don't necessarily have that much influence for the specific niche, and they really have more of a broad audience. So you're not going to have as high of a conversion rate with them. And lastly, you have micro influencers, which usually I would say are up to 10,000 followers. But then again, as you see, I would always say that base everything on engagement. So sometimes you might have accounts that have 100,000 followers or 1,000,000 followers, but they have absolutely no engagement. And an influencer who has 9,000 followers, they have absolutely amazing engagement. So really it's more to do with the engagement once again rather than followers. But this is sort of a general rule that micro influencers are around max 10,000 followers. And influencers can really be pretty much on any platform. So it might be Instagram, it might be YouTube, it might be TikTok, it might be blogs, anywhere really where someone has an audience and an influence. So when it comes to authority figures, they do have a much bigger audience. So if you're working with a really big influencer, if you just get that one influencer, you're going to reach a lot of different people. And if they're really authority for that specific niche, then if they recommend your product, a lot of people might actually purchase that product. However, the benefit of working with micro influencers is that usually you can get some sort of campaign with them for a very, very cheap price. Sometimes you might just give your product for free, and in return you are going to get a shout out. And when you really think about it, if you are getting a recommendation for a specific product from an influencer, or you're getting a recommendation from your friend, most likely you are more likely to buy that product that your friend is recommending. So micro influencer marketing can really work very, very well, especially if you are on low budget and you're just starting out. So when you're working with influencer marketing, you need to define what exactly are your goals from the campaign. So there are a few different goals that you can pursue. So the first one is just basic brand awareness. So basically just brand mention. So this applies mostly to the bigger companies that have the budget just to get their name out there. Another goal might be just to increase your own account followers through influencers. Then the next goal is leads. So basically most of the time creating email lists, or perhaps getting people to join, let's say, your Facebook group or something like that. So basically not getting the sales, but rather getting some sort of connection with that influencer's audience. Then of course we have sales, which is the most common goal. So how much revenue an influencer can actually generate for your product or your service. And lastly, we also have user generated content. So sometimes also your goal might be to actually just get a lot of user generated content, so you can use that content maybe on your own accounts or your own website, or use those as testimonials, or use them in your ads, and so on and so forth. So now let's get into the different types of campaigns, and there are quite a few. So the first one is a special sale. So basically when you're working with an influencer, you are telling them to tell their audience that you are running a sale right now, and most of the time you want to have some sort of scarcity. So perhaps that sale is only for the next 12 hours or the next 24 hours, something like that. But basically, whether they're making a post or they're making a video, they have to tell that you are running a sale right now, so go and purchase. And sometimes you can also include a coupon code for that specific influencer, so that is a little bit more of an incentive for that audience to actually go and make a purchase. The next campaign is to have product review. So I think this is pretty self-explanatory. You just send out your product, someone does a product review for you, and in return, hopefully a lot of people go and purchase your product. And also this is really good if you want to use that content later on for your other marketing campaigns. Another very useful campaign that you can do is running contests. So basically you are giving out your your product or perhaps a bunch of your different products, and you have certain rules how people can enter that competition. So whether it is to actually go and like that post, or perhaps it is to tag their friends, or it could also be to go and follow your Instagram account, or go to sign up for your email list, whatever it is, basically you have some sort of action that counts as an entry. What I mentioned before, if you press thumbs up and you leave a comment under this video, you are entering as well to get a free course for yourself. So the contest can work really well on Instagram, especially if you have a really good contest. It can go kind of viral if you do it in the right way, and also you can get a lot of new followers that are going to follow your account and all of that kind of stuff. You do need to be a little bit cautious, because if you are doing this on accounts that are not very targeted, so they're not necessarily in your niche per se, some people who are not actually interested in your brand, they might want to enter the competition and they might follow your account, but they don't really care about your account, so they're not going to engage with your posts, and then your engagement is going to drop, and that is going to hurt your account. So do be careful when you do these contests. If you're going to do them, make sure that you are doing really this with an audience that is very specific for you, and they're actually going to be engaging with your account. And also what you can do a group contest. So what this means is you can find a few different companies that are in your niche, or they're somehow related to your company, and you can bundle up all of these different products. So basically you're making the lottery pot a little bit bigger. So if someone actually wins that, they're getting a lot more than they would if you would be just giving out your product. And in exchange, basically, it's just going to be easier for you, for that post to go viral, and you are going to get more followers. Then again, this is going to divide it, because then other companies are going to be getting followers as well. Another type of campaign is an account takeover. So basically, if you're working with an influencer, you can ask them to take over your account, let's say for one day, and just create some sort of content, whether it's different posts or perhaps stories or something like that. And then part of their audience, if they are really interested in this influencer, they are going to go over to your account to see what this influencer is doing, and in that way you're going to get more engagement and more followers on your account. And lastly, you have shout outs. So what this means is you are not pushing hard for a sale, but rather than that, you are just asking an influencer to give you a shout out. So basically just to tag you or post a picture of you and just to mention your company, and that's it. Okay, so once you have chosen your influencers and your campaigns and all of that, you need to determine what kind of call to action the influencer has to give to their audience. So the first thing you can ask for is for the influencer to tag you in the post. If we're talking about Instagram, so they can actually tag you in the picture. So it's very simple for the user to find your account. If not tagging, then you can also just ask to put in your Instagram handle in the description underneath the post. You can also ask to create a specific account. So again, if you're doing perhaps a contest, or if in general you just want to create some sort of promotion or something like that, you can create a custom hashtag, and then you can ask the influencer to put that hashtag, and perhaps ask their audience to also participate and put in that hashtag and make it go viral, and then other people are discovering that hashtag, and through that hashtag they are discovering your company, and so on and so forth. You get the picture. Another call to action would be to put your website link in their bio. So usually if they're putting some sort of post, they will have call to action to go and make the purchase, and they will tell go to the bio and press the link in the bio to go to make the purchase, and in the bio they just have your link. Pretty simple. And the last one is to have a link in the story. So this is actually working really well. So again, they just post some sort of post, whether they are creating that post themselves or perhaps you are giving something to them. They put in a link, and then they ask people to swipe up and open and make a purchase or join an email list or whatever exactly it is. When it comes to audience, you also need to have a specific call to action. You always need to tell people what to do, because people people are not going to do it themselves. So first of all, you might ask them to follow your Instagram account to grow your following. Again, as I said, you have to be a little bit cautious about this because you don't want to force people who are not interested in your account to follow you, because that's going to hurt your engagement. You can ask people to tag a friend. This one can be very, very powerful and can really make your post go viral. Then you can ask to leave a comment. So a comment is not going to, increase your following necessarily, or not going to give you sales, but what it's going to do is, first of all, it might make that post go on the explore page, and in general it's going to increase engagement on your account, so more people are going to discover your account. And then you can straight up just ask the audience to go and make a purchase. And lastly, you can go and ask them for something a little bit easier, like signing up for an email list for some sort of freebie or something like that, so that is not as much of a sale, not as much of a push. So you're going to have a lot more people to actually sign up for that, and then you can retarget them, and you can actually probably make even more money rather than just pushing people straight to make a purchase. So when you're running your campaign, another thing that is very, very important is you actually need to track how those campaigns are performing to know if you're getting good return on investment and what one or the other influencer is actually bringing to you. So a few ways how you can track your conversions. First of all, very, very simple way and very basic way that anyone can do is you give out discount codes to influencers, so then you can see right away how many times that specific discount code was used, and then you can tell how many sales the influencer brought in. So this is very, very basic, a little bit manual, but still very, very simple. Another thing what you can do, if you get an influencer to sign up for your affiliate program, you can actually see on the affiliate software how many sales that influencer generated, and you can see all of the different analytics, the clicks and the revenue, the conversions and all of that. So this is actually very, very useful. Also, if you just want to see how many clicks you got from a certain account, you can just use link shorteners such as bit.ly to just see the analytics of that. And also you can use Google UTM to actually track all of the clicks and all of that kind of stuff. This is a pretty big topic and I don't want to make a whole tutorial. I think that would be a little bit too much for this video, but do let me know if you want me to make a tutorial about this. I will make a separate video. So another important thing when working with influencers is to ask for their audience demographics. So in general, you want to know perhaps their country or region, you want to know their gender, and you want to know their age. So this is just basically to help you make better decisions, to see how many people potentially are going to make purchases. Let's say if you're selling your products or services to audience based in United States in English, then if someone has an audience that is mostly non-native, non-English speakers, then most likely you're not going to make that many sales. And most of the platforms, as you can see, if you go on Instagram, a lot of them are going to have all of these different demographics, and it depends on which platform you are actually working on, but most of them will have at least the basic demographics. Okay, so I realized that this video actually is very, very long, so I'm actually going to split it to two different parts. So there is a second part coming out, so subscribe to my YouTube channel to make sure you don't miss out that video. Put on those notifications. The second part I think is actually going to bring in even more value, so you definitely don't want to miss it out. If you find this video useful, make sure to press that thumbs up button. Again, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Stay awesome, and I'll see you soon.